My name is Helen Ho. I'm with the Asian American Legal Advocacy Center. We're the first nonprofit law center dedicated to promoting the civil rights of Asian Americans in our state and in the southern region. And I am, yay! I know!
Cheers!
But will your baby do the same thing?
Absolutely!
Oh my gosh! The youngest activist in the room, so Kiowa. Anyway, I was going to say a few words, but this is really about welcoming these amazing group of dreamers and brave young undocumented students who are traveling all throughout the nation to really raise awareness on comprehensive immigration reform and the need for us to change this, and really putting a very important spotlight that Asian Americans are definitely impacted by this issue, and we know it in our state for sure, but we don't often have young people brave enough to really come out and talk about it. So anyway, they'll share more, but before I begin, I wanted to thank the other co-host, Korean American Association of Greater Atlanta. This is their temporary home, and Travis Kim is the president. So thank you, Travis. Do you want to say a few words?
Welcome, and welcome to Korean American Association Center. It's so nice to see you all, and we all know that the life is not an easy journey. You know, it's a rather difficult journey sometimes, especially for you, undocumented young man and woman. You know, who came here. We all know that you guys came here not by your choice, but rather with your family or your parents. And now probably you haven't realized how life can be difficult as a little child. However, as you grow into the adulthood, that you will realize, and then probably you are facing the challenge as of now. So it's not your fault, but the life has become rather challenging and rather difficult for some of you. We all realize that as a grown-up, and we are trying to make the necessary changes to make things better. However, it is not entirely up to some of us, so we are all working together. I want you to continue to dream and accomplish what you're looking for in your life, and our community is behind you. So thank you.
And I also want to introduce House Representative Pedro Marin. He is one of the first Latino elected officials in our state, and Pedro has been a champion for immigrants, Latino, Asian, really for all people in our state, and he currently represents a big swath of Duluth, which is basically New Koreatown. So Pedro, would you like to say a few words?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me stand up. It's Friday. I'm truly honored to be here this morning and to welcome you all to Georgia. And I'm going to just take a couple minutes on kind of giving you a brief summary of immigration here in the state of Georgia. And as you know, 2006, we became the first state in the country to do anti-immigrant legislation. With that, I remember that I was in front of the Board of Regents in 2007, arguing the case for undocumented kids to go to the 35 colleges and universities in the state of Georgia. What happened is that, as you know, 2011 came in and we passed another very strict legislation bill, and now all universities were not banned, but only the 5 top colleges and universities. I remember that we were doing a committee hearing, and the chancellor for the Georgia College and University, Mike Huckabee, was talking and said, well, you know, they asked a question about how was the percentage of undocumented students in the university system, and he said that it was going to be, it was less than 1%. Less than 1%, you know, it's really minimal. So, but again, you know, we kept banning students. Now, with the DACA, with the president approving the deferred action, now Board of Regents again came out with a decision of banning undocumented students with the DACA provision to do in-state tuition. So again, that's another setback to Georgia, because I think we should allow those DACA students, brightest and smartest of the state of Georgia, to pursue a higher education in our top 5 college universities. And we were just talking earlier, and this is a case here, but I've seen several cases also that students are leaving the states to go to other states, to go to top universities and college. And me as a member of the General Assembly, I cannot stand for that, because again, I need to educate our people, our constituents, be the best and brightest. So again, I want to thank you for being here, allowing me a couple minutes, and welcoming again. Thank you.
And to my left is Kayang Chung. She's with Korean Resource Center, one of the wonderful organizations that helped spearhead this, I want to call it the Freedom Rides, but the Dream Riders. And she will speak a little later in Korean, which is wonderful, because many of our press members are Korean today. Many of our Dreamers are Korean. And then the Dreamers will talk, right? And you will translate in English. And then they'll get to share their stories. And then we can all just really have a community discussion, because that's what it's all about. But I guess I just wanted to say a few words. Since ALAC, we are the first civil rights law nonprofit in our region focused on Asian Americans. And, you know, I'll be candid, because it's mostly ethnic press today. It's been frustrating because, you know, we have candid conversations. We don't want to judge anybody. But whether it's people in our own community, whether it's press, whether it's other immigrant rights allies, they often think this immigration issue has nothing to do with Asians. I was actually asked to speak last year at a very prominent Chamber of Commerce on our policy work. And I spoke about our fight, our successful fight, thanks to Pedro Marin and others in the legislature, to not pass our anti-dream bill. And afterwards, a business person came up to me and said, I don't get it, because these laws, they're not about Asians. They're about Latinos. You guys are the good immigrants, so why do you care? And so, frankly, that's not an uncommon response. And if they don't say it out loud, they're thinking it in their head. And proof of that is the lack of visibility of our community on these issues. So I'm just so grateful that you guys are here, because I just feel like when we look at even our home countries of origin in Korea, China, Philippines, and elsewhere, students are oftentimes the strongest voice and the bravest voice on some of the toughest human rights issues. And I really think that's what, especially the aspect of the Dreamers, it really is a human rights issue. And cutting through the economic arguments and all that, which is true and scientifically, statistically true, this is truly a human rights issue. And as Congressman John Lewis said, it is the civil rights issue of today. And with Asians being the fastest growing community in the Deep South, it is especially important in our region. So I won't go into stats and stuff, because I'm a numbers nerd, but it's not about that. It's about stories today. So without further ado, Kayang, would you like to share about your program, please?
Yeah. Hi, nice to meet you, and thank you so much for having us here. I'm a coordinator from Korean Resource Center, Los Angeles. And actually, it was not easy for us to start this journey, because we had to fundraise our money, so we had to visit every businessman's office and lawyer's office in Koreatown, and so we had to release our postings through social network service, and thankfully more than $5,000 we was able to get, and two of our members Simon and Anna, it's first time for them to come out from the shadows, so it was also not easy for persuade them to go with us. But thankfully, as you see, they are here to share our stories with you. So it's my brief introduction, and our members will introduce themselves one by one to you. So can you start now?
Okay, my name is Kevin Lee. I'm a dream writer from Los Angeles, from KRC, and I'm here because I want to see other youth that are in the same situation as myself to be empowered and to be able to share their stories, because a lot of congressmen may not know may not have the direct contact with some of our painful experiences, and whether you're documented or not, your stories are unique, and what you went through could really maybe change the hearts and minds of people. So I'm just so happy for the other folks who came so courageously here on this Dream Riders tour.
Hi, I'm Chan, and I'm from Nakasek in Virginia, and I'm a Dream Rider participant, and I'm going on this journey because I want to really immerse myself in the immigrant communities of the South and various parts of the country, and just hear their different perspectives and hear their stories on this issue.
Hi, my name is Anna Jung, and I'm coming out to the public for the first time as an undocumented student through this trip. I'm on this van tour to hopefully motivate at least one person to support and act for the immigration reform.
Okay. Hi, I'm Brandon McQuanan. I represent the Korean American Resource and Cultural Center from Chicago, and I am riding on the van tour to show that the youth have a voice and that immigration reform is a topic that is very important to immigrant communities from all across America.
Hi, my name is Alan Su. I'm from KRC from Chicago, and I am riding on this van tour because I want to create change, push for a truly comprehensive immigration reform, and simply I just don't want to see any more families torn apart.
Hi, I'm Simon Jun, and I'm a dream writer from LA. And I'm here to advocate my story. I'm here to advocate immigration reform because I don't want anyone else to live in fear of being separated from their family.
So I will give a very brief introduction about where we're going and why we're doing this. So we're called the Dream Riders in light of the Freedom Riders in the 1960s. And we're AAPI Dreamers who go on this road trip because the time to act is now. We cannot wait any longer. The Senate has passed the comprehensive immigration bill with amazingly 68 votes. It's a bipartisan bill, and what it shows us is that what they wanted to show the House of Representatives is that the senators are in support of comprehensive bill. But as of now, the House of Representatives is trying to pass a partial legislation that is piecemeal and does not, as of now, include a pathway to citizenship. And we really want to ask our, we really should ask our legislators. The time is now to, call the offices, to, write letters or, do whatever we could to raise awareness and get people to be on our side. And this is why we're going on, because it's not just us that are affected by the issue, although we are personally affected by it. It's our family, it's our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, our friends, and we will visit from California, Chicago, and DC to Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas. We will meet with the various communities. We will meet with the legislators in these various states and tell them about the issue, but also hear back from the respective communities on the sort of their stories, their issues, and seek a common ground, a common base where we can sort of network and try to move forward. Maybe even after a comprehensive bill has come about, since just because the bill is passed, that doesn't mean all our problems are solved. We still have to, the implementation has to go through, and there's so much work to be done. And it's just our communities really need to engage in this issue because it's not a Latino issue, it's not an Asian American issue, it's a people's issue, it's a social issue, it's a human rights issue. So that's why these courageous young people, including myself, are going on this trip. So there's our route. And what does it mean to be undocumented? So it means living in the shadows, never speaking about your status, never telling anyone about a part of who you are. It means being in a fear of deportation constantly. That never leaves the back of your mind. I could personally get a call right now from ICE saying that my parents are detained and they will be going away to South Korea. And it's just, you can never forget it, even though you're doing something else. And it means that you cannot work legally. So no, I mean, when I turned 16, I wanted to work so much, you know, I wanted to be a part of this, you know, society, but then I was not allowed to do it. And it means that you cannot get a driver's license because, you know, they ask for your social security number. And a lot of times, dreamers, you know, lie about their, you know, driver's license, saying, "Oh, I took driver's ed. You know, I'm getting it," because they're so, you know, it's a stigma to be undocumented. It's so shameful, but it shouldn't be because it wasn't their fault. It wasn't our fault. And you know, access to higher education, so many hurdles, from financial aid to even being accepted to the school. And I know some, you know, folks back in LA who's, you know, he's a dreamer, he's 26 years old, and he's still going through college, paying for himself as an undocumented student. And I know a physically disadvantaged dreamer who only wants to, you know, get an MD in psychology to help people like herself and contribute to this society. So what it means, it's hard to explain, but these are some of the things that means to be undocumented. So who are the dreamers? I mean, most of you probably already know, there are young folks who came here at a very young age, not of their own will, and they grew up here. You know, you could be 2 months old and you could still be a dreamer, undocumented person. And most of the time, you know, the only country that they know is this country, and they grew up here and they, you know, feel. I mean, I consider myself Korean American, but that doesn't mean I'm less American. So these are the dreamers. They just want an opportunity in life. So the DREAM Act, or the comprehensive bill, just didn't come about out of nowhere. It was 20, you know, for KRCC Nakasek, it was 20 years of advocacy and fighting for human rights. And here are some of the other dreamers from LA. They're my friends. Proud of them. And
Keish.
yeah, there's Keish from Georgia, such an advocate here in you know, this local community, and I had a chance to meet with her several times, and she's just a very strong person, and lucky for me, I had the opportunity to meet with the President of the United States and the Vice President, and I was able to share my story to the President himself directly. And what he told me was that people like you should continue to share and continue to advocate, because if you don't, then that means, you know, the issues won't be out there. So I would really like to ask, you know, everybody here, if you know a dreamer, if you know other folks who are allies, which means you are not, you know, exactly undocumented, but who are in support of this cause, then please, you know, raise your voice, project your voice. And we were also lucky to be able to meet with all of us, meet with the Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, and we shared our stories, and he spoke to us, and he told us to, you know, please follow up with him with very specific asks. And if you have something, you know, to ask him, you know, very specific problems with students in high school who are undocumented, you know, please help us, because, you know, we're not the experts in, you know, the legal aspect, or we're not the, you know, experts. We're just here to share our own personal stories. So please give us your help, your hand. And the economic argument, I would just go over this very briefly. Immigrants a lot of times there's the myth that immigrants are, taking the jobs away from other Americans, that we're, costing the government a lot of money, but that's not true. Immigrant families tend to, pull together their resources. A lot of times in the Korean American community, they start small businesses, which are the backbone of our economy. Just by the example of Jerry Yang, who was the founder of Yahoo, he came actually on a family visa, not a skilled worker visa, when he was very young. And how could you possibly distinguish between who will be potentially the contributing member of our society? So I think it should go both ways. Skilled immigrants are needed, but also why reduce the family aspect on our bill? And of course, this immigration bill, if it goes into effect, it's estimated to increase our GDP in the next decade by so much and help our economy. So I would like to ask Simon to share his story really quick at this moment. Please sort of glance through the questions there to sort of see how he answers.
Hello, my name is Simon, and I'm a documented student from LA, and I'm a dreamer. I first came to America when I was 5 years old with my mom and my sister. We came to visit our aunt, and when we got back, my parents discussed, and they decided to come to America so that me and my sister could pursue the American dream. So when I first entered America, I thought I understood what it meant to be undocumented, but then as I grew older, I slowly realized the gravity of being undocumented. So growing up, my sister and I always wanted to go to college because our parents were never able to, because they had to, right after high school, they had to go help their family financially. So all throughout elementary, middle school, high school, my sister and I tried so hard to get straight A's. We volunteered hundreds of hours into our community service. And by the time my sister was at her senior year of high school, when everybody else was applying for colleges, they had like a look of excitement in their eyes because they were getting ready for the next step, the next chapter of their life. But my sister had a grim, hopeless look in her eyes, and I didn't understand why that was. Until one night, I overheard my sister and my parents talking. And then what I heard was my parents told my sister that we're sorry that we can't afford to send you off to college. And I realized that at the time my sister wasn't able to get any grants from the government. Since we're undocumented, it's really hard for our parents to find a job, and even if they do have a job, it's barely enough to cover our rent and our utility bills. So paying for a college is impossible. So when all of our friends were applying to prestigious colleges and getting ready for their next step, she had to hold back her tears and go to a community college. And because of our status as being undocumented, there's a lot of, our choices are very limited. We can't drive because we don't have a driver's license. The jobs that we could get are mostly manual labor. We have to avoid getting hurt at all costs because we have no health insurance. And we have to, at all costs, we have to avoid getting in trouble by the law because we might be deported and be separated from our family. But thankfully, President Obama signed DACA, and it granted people like me status for 2 years, which could be renewed. And thanks to DACA, my sister and I could now drive. We could apply to jobs that we want. We could travel across the nation, and we could now pay for our college bills because we could find a job. And we don't have to live in fear of being deported. But that is not enough because my parents could still be deported. My friends' parents could still be deported. Undocumented parents all over our country could still be deported, and they still can't drive. They still can't find a decent job, and we could all be separated at any moment. So I think we should hold hands, and we should talk to our Congress members and tell them that we don't want a partial immigration reform. We want an inclusive, comprehensive immigration bill where parents can share the same benefits as us, because keeping families together is a human basic right. So I think we should all talk to our Congress member and urge them to have a comprehensive immigration bill. Thank you.
Next up, could we have Sei? Although she is not a dreamer herself, she has a very compelling immigration story.
My name's Sei, and I was actually born here, but I'm here to share my mother's immigration stories. So in 1994, a month before I was born, my grandmother came to the U.S. on family visa that my mother petitioned her for. And she came here to take care of me because at that point my parents were citizens, but they were having a lot of job security issues, and they were, balancing part-time jobs that they could lose at any point. And so yeah, my grandmother came to take care of me then, and 5 years later, in 1999, my mother petitioned her brother to come join us so our family could be united. But since then, for 14 years, we've been stuck in the backlog, and my uncle is still in Korea. And for small families like my mother's side, it's kind of hard for her because my grandmother's only 2 family members are her children, are her son and daughter, and she's already 82 years old, and she could pass away without seeing her son. And yeah, but I mean, this is the story of, my family story is a story of adults, but my mother, who's a ESOL, English for Speakers of Other Languages teacher, she has to hear these raw, these really, really heart-wrenching family separation stories of her students on a regular basis. And one of the biggest problems that she sees her students face is that their parents come here when they're very, very young, with the hopes that they could, make a living and support their children better by coming here to work. But they can't bring their children with them, so they leave their children in their parents' care, in their grandparents' care. And after waiting in the backlogs and from as short as 6 to as long as over a decade, when the children finally come, the parents and children are just, they've lived in different worlds for so long. So the parents and children, they just clash so much, and even though they're together, they're basically a broken family, and they're ultimately just not able to reconcile a lot of times. And yeah, so that's why these backlogs are very, very, they're breaking families. They're we can't just wait years on it, and so I really want to ask Congress to push for a comprehensive immigration reform and not take a piecemeal route that's going to neglect family backlog issues.
And we also have Brandon Laquan, who is here to share his own immigration story.
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Brandon. I represent KRCC from Chicago, and I am 18 years old, and I identify as Filipino American. So my immigration story starts with my paternal grandparents. So in 1974, my grandparents had already established their life in the Philippines with a family of 2 children. And they've heard stories about America, how there are opportunities here, and how overall life is better here in America in comparison to the Philippines. So when my grandpa had the opportunity to petition the whole family to America, he brought the petition to my grandmother. But my grandmother was very hesitant. She was not sure how to raise 2 children in a new country by themselves. They didn't know anyone in America, they didn't already have jobs here, so she was scared. But my grandpa sat her down, and then he told her the following phrase: "We'll find a way. We'll find a way." And they did. So they were able to come up with the money to fly them here to Chicago, to where I live, Chicago. But yeah, they sold all their belongings, they borrowed a lot of money from their friends and family, but they did find a way. They established a life for their family in Chicago, and they bought a house, they got jobs, and so they stayed here in America until my dad grew up, and then I was born in America. So "We'll find a way" is a phrase that is very magical to my family and to me because it characterizes who an immigrant is. Dedicated, skillful, creative, willing to put their minds, bodies, and use their voices to contribute to American society. So this is why I want my fellow undocumented brothers and sisters to have the same opportunities that I do, to excel in American classrooms, to participate in the American workforce, even enlist in the American military if they wanted to, because they call this country their home just like I do. And this is why I am fighting for immigration reform, and this is why I want a pathway to citizenship for my undocumented friends.
And as for story sharing, I will share my own personal story here. I came here from South Korea when I was 9 years old, and it was 1999. There was a severe economic crisis in South Korea, the IMF, and my parents sort of sat around in a circle in our one room. We moved from a bigger place to the smallest place that we could find, and my father decided that we should move to America, and I didn't know what that meant. I thought I was gonna eat steak every day. I was excited for that, and I came here. The first thing I saw was a bowl of rice and a kimchi. Just to move on, I grew up sort of very sheltered. I used to be very outgoing, but my mother would always, tell me. My parents would both work outside, and they would leave me home by myself. And before she went out, she would tell me, Kevin, don't say anything to your friends, your neighbors. Anybody just keep it low, because I knew of my status back then. A lot of people actually find out later, but every time somebody knocks on your door, look through the back window to see if it's law enforcement, because at any moment you could be taken away from us. So I always knew that I could be taken away from my parents. And growing up, when I turned 16, going to high school, going to high school I knew that I was different because I wouldn't be able to get a driver's license. I couldn't take, I could take driver's ed, but I could never get the driver's license, even though I pledge of allegiance to the flag every day. I thought I was American, but the society just didn't accept me as such. And especially going to college, I never tried in high school because I knew that I would never be able to go. I thought I would never be able to go to college and achieve for my dreams. And at the end of my high school career, I had such low grades because I'd never tried. And as my last option, I went to the Navy because I wanted to serve in this country. I went to the Navy and I asked them, could I enlist? I really want to join. I want to be a part of the Navy. And they asked for my Social Security, and I didn't have it. And I couldn't enlist. So as my last option, my mother recommended me to go to a community college to start anew. And I worked very hard. Before that, California is so progressive, and I was lucky to be in California because there was an in-state tuition bill, which my community college refused initially, and the Korean Resource Center came and helped me get the in-state tuition for undocumented students. Because before that bill, it was considered if you're undocumented, then you have to pay out-of-state tuition fees. You're considered as an international student or an alien. So since, thanks to KRC, I was able to go to community college. I was able to transfer to UCLA. I've graduated last June from UCLA with a bachelor's in history. And now I'm working as an immigrant rights organizer at the Korean Resource Center. I answer a lot of phone calls. And what it reminds me is, it's a lot of mothers that call. Just like my mother, I was too shameful to call for myself. And You know, when I hear those voices, you know, the mothers, I know in my head that there are also people like myself behind those phones, you know, just waiting to be heard. So much potential, so much creativity, so much will to just give back to this society, the only country that they know. You know, I'm fighting very hard, but I cannot, you know, we cannot do this alone by ourselves, the Dreamers. As you can see, we have, you know, Alan, we have Brandon, we have, you know, Sei here to support us. We need more people to sort of let our voices be heard. And, you know, I think it's injustice when, you know, immigration system breaks families apart. There's injustice in the system where, you know, it does not look at the human face of the issue, and we're left with sort of just the dialogue. And there's controversy when a lot of the, you know, Republican Congress members, you know, vote down to defund DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and then turn their backs around and say again that they support people who wish to contribute to this country. I think that's contradictory, and I really hope that we could sort of find the common ground to talk over the issue and really pass this legislation once and for all. That was my story. And I think it should be So I think we should open up the ground for, the place for discussion. You know, it's not just us to here to share, but also everybody here. Do you have an immigration story of your own? Would you like to share? You know, how does this relate to what's happening now? Are you in support? You know, what issues affect the immigrant communities, particularly at this date? We would like to know. We don't know that much about Georgia. How do you believe immigrants have contributed to the communities, you know, and the U.S. as a whole? You know, how can students get more involved in, you know, in Georgia? You know, are there enough resources for Asian American dreamers to come out of the shadows? How can we create a network to advocate for immigration reform together in unity? Sort of, you know, you could answer any of, you know, which question you would like to answer. Anybody would like to?
I'm gonna kind of first of all, thank you because you have put, like you just said, you have put a human face to the issue of immigration, and us that we've been battling immigration in the state of Georgia for many years. It is heartbreaking to hear your stories. And we have to remember that every month over 40,000 people are being deported. So we had to do, first of all, we have to stop them. We have to stop breaking up families. But also we have to make sure that our congressmen and congresswomen knows about the issue. And I think you're doing the right thing of being here and letting your heart out to us on your own stories. So again, you know, hopefully, you know, this month of August, Congress is off. Over 40,000 people are still going to be deported. Sad, but again, it makes for this month for us to be advocate and to be fighting amongst our Congress people to make sure they do the right thing when they come back in September and they start discussing immigration legislation. We need a comprehensive immigration reform, and that will take a path to citizenship, because we don't want a second-class constituents. So we need to make sure that each one of us, we call our congressmen and argue the case that truly we need comprehensive immigration reform. So again, you know, my heart is to you guys. I heard it. We were at the rally Wednesday for some of the Latinos and Filipinos as well. And it's just heartbreaking stories that we need to stop because, again, we're losing our brightest and smartest kids that they cannot pursue their dream. And again, I want to thank you for putting this together. Thank you. And I guess that was not the question, but
walk up to somebody and say, "Are you undocumented? Are you undocumented? Are you legal?" But that's very awkward and maybe inappropriate. But I think it should come about very naturally. So if we have the resources available to students, young people, their parents who are very concerned for their children, and when you get to talk to them, like sharing the information about how you can, get access to education, how you can move on with DACA and receive that aid, and sort of talk naturally and sort of listen to their story. I think, at least 1 out of 100 people that you talk to, they will be interested in sharing their story for the better. It's not going to be everybody, because I also met a lot of people who are very afraid. But truth to be told, when you're out in public, I feel, this is just my opinion, I feel that you are much safer because the public has your support, and that's very powerful. So even if I might be detained, I'm so sure that the Korean American community back in LA would give their full support for me. So I have no worries, and whenever I share.
Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. was born here. John Lewis is a congressman here. He was a freedom rider. Immigration rights is actually the current conversation of civil rights in this country. So when I see you and I hear, Travis's comment, yes, there's definitely fear. But if John Lewis did not ride, if Martin Luther King Jr. didn't die, we wouldn't have the civil rights that we have here today. And when you ride, we will hopefully see other DREAM students get the same opportunities that we can have for other immigrants in this country. And that, to me, is probably the most powerful reason that you are a symbol of probably the forefront of civil rights now in the immigration rights movement, together with the other undocumented dreamers. You really have nothing to lose. I mean, I know the fear that you talk about, because I have clients who come into my office every day to talk about that same fear. Clients who, I just had a client come in yesterday, and they had tried back in 1997 to legally immigrate, and unfortunately one of them had a shoplifting charge, $15, and that prevented their entire family from getting their green cards. And fortunately now, the person's daughter is a U.S. citizen, and we can try again almost 15 years later to legalize their status. So when I hear your stories and I hear the courage that you have as youth, riding through the South, where, it's ironic that while the South is the birthplace of civil rights, the South is also the most resistant to change when it comes to immigration rights. And so until and unless your stories are heard, then we don't have the courage or the political will to make this happen. And I will say, I've talked privately to Republicans, I've talked privately to conservatives, and privately, they do support. I mean, I think there are people in this room who know privately that we have GOP who have supported DREAM students. But it's the public face of, when they're concerned about their constituents and the conservative constituents who, blankly say across the board, no, we don't want undocumented. It's here that they have to preserve their votes. And, I'm hoping that with Congress seeing that the wave of the future is there are going to be more minority voters in this country than ever before, and this is the political will of the people, that it'll start shifting. So we really appreciate you coming to Georgia and the South, because it echoes what happened in the South 40, 50 years ago.
They are welcome to contact us. We are there. We are here to support both with direct services on that issue, or at least referrals with really good immigration attorneys that have offered to help in a pro bono capacity. So if there's no other questions, I know we're all going to keep eating and talking.
Introduce Larry.
Larry, my friend.
Okay, look here, please. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2.
Do you have any idea?
One.
Everybody.
We're Atlanta.